This is A Folklore Bestiary, made by the Merry Mushmen, famous for their work on the series of fanzines. They say it's not a manual of monsters, but it is, and it is so much more than that. This here is the OSR version, the old school version, but they also made a 5e version. In the inside cover you will find a band of 6 adventurers in the front and the back, ready to plunge right into an adventure if you so choose. And slap bang in the middle of this volume you will find a cave where you can put them in and just start playing. Nice little addition here. The printed version is a glue-bound hardcover, and the paper quality is very high, which 5 years ago I wouldn't think was worth mentioning, but nowadays it's hard and expensive to get hold of high quality paper because the industry has moved so much towards digital. So several companies producing this high quality paper have gone bankrupt, and the remaining companies still producing it demand a premium price for their product. Anyway, let me show you the PDF for better readability. I got 2 versions of the PDS. One is a high resolution version, so you can zoom in on the pictures and won't see any pixels until you get really close and bask in all the great detail. And then I have the interactive version that is somewhat compressed, but it's got bookmarks, so this one is much more usable. And there's just a huge variety of not just monsters but creatures in here, from something that could come out of a fairy tale, of something of fitting for Dolmenwood, for example, like these kabouters that are small, shy, diminutive gnomes, who I think are the inspiration for D&D gnomes, and they are mostly good-natured. They like liquor, and you can trade with them. They might help you, they might play pranks on you, but you're more likely to negotiate with them than you are to fight them. Then we have creatures that are more like gothic horror, like these cephalophore that could be right out of something like Dracula, more classical undead creature. And we have this creature from Northern California, the people of the Holy City, which wouldn't be out of place in a game of Call of Cthulhu. We've got big creatures, strange creatures, small creatures, and creatures that would be right off on a horror game or something like Lamentations of a Flame Princess. Very weird and out there. And many creatures would fit well within the quasi-historical setting of Lamentations. There's a huge variety here. I'm sure there's something for everyone. And you've got all your short fiction inspiration and quest hooks right here to put them into your game. So let me show you 2 of my highlights. This is one. This is Lucacal from Gascony in France. Lucacal was a gargantuan snail haunting the caves beneath the village of Hastings in southern France. So we've got the legends, the story here. The village of Hastings is built on a rocky promontory hiding a network of colossal caves and natural galleries. Well situated and spared from the hazards of the 100 Years' War, it soon became a flourishing trade center for its English founders. They drove away the few Neanderthals and goblins lingering in the caves and began to mine for ore. This was ill-advised, for it was after excavating a deep gallery that they released the Lokakal, a snail as big as a house, its body bristling with venomous hair, its shell harder than stone, its gaping mouth spitting out jets of corrosive saliva, and a crown of tentacles which caught half a dozen miners. The poor souls were swallowed before anyone could do anything. The survivors ran for their lives, collapsed the gallery behind them, and warned the brokers that the caves were now forbidden territory. A few weeks later, the earth shook. The first disappearances were reported in the next few days. First, it was a whole herd of cows. Then, a shepherdess and her flock vanished from a meadow further east, and a family of cowherds living on an isolated farm was nowhere to be found. But the worst story was undoubtedly that of a Bayonne stagecoach, of which only an empty carcass was found. Horse, coachman, passengers, all had evaporated. The disappearances always took place at night, and each time one could observe a slime trail as white as a road, sparkling in the light that led into the caves under Hastings. It was now clear that the beast had gone through the cave-in and was on the loose. The Chevalier Urhard and his men-at-arms from Bidache were sent for. The next night they had already caught the beast in a clearing where a woodcutter and her family lived. The giant snail was on the roof of the cottage, methodically collapsing the walls. All who tried to escape were caught by a tentacle and gobbled up. The knight and his troop rushed forward. Armed with long spears, they tried to repel the monster, but it didn't seem to notice the pain, and half of the Chevalier's men were swallowed by the beast. Horrifyingly, the muffled screams of the victims could be heard struggling inside the monster's belly. Finally sated, Lokakal turned around and headed back to the caves at his snail's pace, where it disappeared into the underground darkness. It was decided that all the entrances to the caves should be collapsed over several dozen feet, which was done in a few days' work with the help from the mountain dwarfs from the fortress of Karg Zuriza. Only a narrow passageway was left, closed by a grate. To prevent the monster from causing another earthquake, it was also decided that the beast would be fed regularly. A weekly meal of cows, pigs, sheep, repeat offenders, and lost travelers was thrown down into the cave through a well in the church. For more than 50 years now, the beast has been peacefully living on these offerings. Its existence is carefully kept secret so as not to harm the duchy's reputation and, more importantly, its trade. But it is said that the beast has now tripled in size, and that one day its hunger will outgrow its diet. Well, that was the short story section of the monster. We also get its stats. So this is quite a beast, 100 feet long, 80-foot shell, 21 hit dice or 95 HP with an armor class of -2 or 21. And quite a few special attacks and immunities and so forth to make this an epic and deadly encounter. We've got a few story hooks you can use to get your players to encounter these monsters. For example, Saratazarat the mage knows Lukalu's weak spot, narrow area on the top of its head that can only be reached through the belly of the beast itself. He is willing to provide advice and some means of protection, and he is offering 2,500 gold pieces if the party can bring the shell of the animal for his mans. Or, the parish priest is all praise for the geological wonders hidden in the gigantic caves beneath the village. As the characters are people of quality, he is willing to give them access through the well of his church and drop him right in front of the monster to feed it. And then they can scramble out of the caves, hope to live through this. Yeah, a few variants here. And next page, lo and behold, we get a picture of the beast. And you can see how large it is compared to its victims, and these are small trees growing on its back. But we also get, which in this PDF sadly is not side by side. The left and right pages are switched up in the PDF, at least for me. But we get a map of the beast. The beast itself is a dungeon that can be explored through the mouth, the crop, the tongue, the lungs, the stomach, the intestines, and you can try fighting it from the inside, where it isn't armored, and it has two weak spots, being the brain and the heart, where you can kill the beast. And there's also quite a bit of treasure to be found in here. So this is how I imagine you should actually run a terrace. This is a monster that is so ginormously huge and undefeatable that you have to kill it from the inside. That should be quite a memorable encounter. And the other creature I want to present is the Höllenwagen. Not this one, this one. A coach, a stagecoach from hell. In eastern French villages, in the hazy streets of German towns, and the Netherlands countryside, everyone feared to hear the wheels of the Höllenwagen, preying on those lost on the road, on the city street. This devilish chariot was said to kidnap them and bring them to hell. Once again, get short stories, 2 short stories this time. Testimony of a city guard and Sister Odilia's Hackborn's report. Let me read one of them. Testimony of a city guard related to the events at the Solstice Festival as recorded by Sister Odilia Hackborn of the All-Seeing Eye. Well, sister, I've never seen anything like that. And let me tell you, I've seen all sorts of weird shit. I was the one who gave the torch to your abbess when she destroyed that vampire nest 2 years ago. First had stories coming from merchants, people disappearing while on their way to the city. We'd been having trouble with a band of thieves, so we didn't pay much attention. That was for the Baron's troops to deal with. City guards don't patrol the roads, yeah? We have enough crap to deal with here. Can I have some wine, please? So, as I was saying, people disappearing. It finally happened here. Runaway kids, ale fiends, one of those adventurer types from out of town. So we didn't pay much attention. Then a poet disappeared. That goddamned heretical piece of trash the mayor loved so much. So I had to double our patrols. That's when... The witness asked for more wine at this point. I told him to wait. Wine dulls memories as well as the pain. Make sure our novices keep in mind that our role is to record testimonies, not to comfort witnesses. So yeah, we were patrolling near the merchant quarters when we heard the cries. As we turned to the street corner, we saw the damn thing. A black wagon, surrounded by red mist that engulfed the street. The horses looked like ghosts, made of mist and fire, and the coachman was a demon. Oh, my soul, sister. The goat horns, the dragon wings. 3 more were trying to shove a screaming man into the wagon. A woman was trying to stop them. I knew them. The man was Gustav Adlinger, the brewer, and the woman was Jutta Kloos, an architect. One of the demons pushed her aside, while the 2 others were shoving Gustav inside the wagon. We ran toward them, shouting holy prayers in case it would help. The coachman demon just laughed. Josef was the fastest. He tried to skewer him with his pike, and the demon cut him in half. The coachman cracked his whip, and the wagon bolted past us. The end of the street, I swear, sister, it was a gate to hell. Hundreds of demons were looking at me, laughing. The wagon disappeared into it. There's nothing we could have done. So we get the Höllenwagen. Though it is crude, it is treated as just one monster. The crew members are just an extension of the Höllenwagen itself, like tentacles on a kraken. And we've got some random tables, or you can say customization, so you can use the coach in whatever setting you use. So demons, goblins, orcs dressed as postal officers, skeletons, undead peasants, ghosts, berserkers, mummies, Neanderthals, pirates, gnolls, and chaos dwarves. What does the wagon look like? Peasant's wagon. War wagon with lots of protruding spikes and blades. Royal looking coach. Stagecoach. Two-tier carriage. Who's inside the wagon should you randomly encounter it. And some story hooks. One of them I find quite entertaining. The last option here. Dead characters are given a Höllenwagen. If they capture enough souls, they will come back to life. Which might be a fun option after a total party kill. How would that play out? Would the characters just grab whoever they can find on the road? Would they try to limit themselves to murderers or other obviously evil people? Or would they somehow try to wriggle their way out of the deal and cheat the devil for their souls? And all of the monsters in here are that. You get flavorful, short fiction, random tables, you get the stats you need to run as, you get adventure hooks, rumors, sometimes you get entire dungeons. One monster here has a hex crawl. 2 monsters come with brand new character classes. Some monsters come with complete adventures. And for every monster you have enough information, short stories, rumors, stats, adventure hooks that you can work a whole adventure around them. And this is how I love my monster manuals, my folklore bestiaries. Don't just give me the stats. Don't just give me a bit of descriptive text. Give me the whole package surrounding the monsters, so I get lots of ideas what I can do with this monster. So this is a fount of inspiration to make great adventures with these monsters. Give me great flavorful pictures. Give me dungeons. Give me whole adventures. In my mind, this is just the right way to do a monster manual. And I fear I'll be spending way too much money on the upcoming volumes of the Folklore Bestiary. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and until next time.